All right, so what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Man Card Podcast. Here with a gentleman you might recognize, Mr. Sean Whalen of Lions Not Sheep, and we're just going to cut it up on a lot of different things. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for being here.
It's beautiful out here. He just showed us his facility and everything he's got going on, and pretty impressive, man.
Thank you.
Fucking awesome. So, Chris, you ready to get going?
Ready to rock. Happy to be in Utah.
Yeah.
Happy to see a lot of the stuff that we've been following, from a distance for a lot of time, seeing the traction and getting to, shoot the shit a little bit. So looking forward to some words of wisdom.
Let's do it. Let's see what wisdom we can come up with.
Oh, it's going to be good. Man. So for anybody who doesn't know you, who's been like maybe under a rock for the last year or two, can you give us a brief synopsis of who you are, what you're all about? Who's Sean Whalen?
We keep that brief, man. I own Lions Not Sheep. We have an apparel company, a coaching company. I live here in Utah. I've got a couple of kids, a fiance, just mixing it up, having fun, building businesses. I own a couple of restaurants and investing in different market segments and really enjoying life right now.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So obviously a lot of folks probably know you from being the owner, founder of Lions Not Sheep, not being willing to bend, and express your opinions and everything. And so, we're really excited to talk to you specifically about the topic of masculinity and, efforts at suppressing that, honestly, because it's something I've talked about before. I get, and I'm sure you must with your following, like tons of young dudes who reach out to me and they're like, man, how do I embrace being who I am? Because I feel like I'm a competitive alpha guy, but I'm being told by society, school, everything, like I need to suppress that bullshit. And they're like, how do you just speak openly about all that stuff? I'm like, well, you just do it.
Do it. Yeah.
So what, do folks reach out to you about that kind of thing?
All the time. Yeah, all the time. I mean, it's a huge thing in our culture and our society. Obviously, being somebody who's out spoken on social media like you guys are, like I am. I mean, that's something that comes up. In fact, I did a post about it on Instagram a couple days ago about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Because it's this
I was
bullshit.
juiced up when I saw that.
Yeah.
It was like leading right up to it.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about, right? And yeah, I mean, it's there's so I don't know what angle you want to tackle this at, but like the truth is our culture and our society is confused in a lot of different ways, right? And something that I'm a firm believer of is like, you can say this person's right or this person's wrong, or your ideology's right or your ideology sucks, right? But for me, something that I'm a huge advocate of and what I'm constantly talking to my clients about and people and just everybody in general is getting your house in order, right? And having your house in order, emotional, financial, spiritual. And what that looks like for you might not be the same for me or for you or for him or him. And that's totally fine, right? What people choose to do, how they choose to live their life, totally fine. For me, it's ensuring that I can produce for my family. I can provide for my family, financially, emotionally, physically, security. And that's my number one goal. And what I choose to do there is up to me. What I choose to do, how I choose to do it, it's 100% on me, right? And I think what a lot of people get really hung up on, and we could take this a ton of different ways, but, feeling like they have to do something based off of someone else's rules.
100%.
You know what I mean? And really going all the way back to when we were kids, I mean, we've been programmed to be sheep. We've been programmed to follow. We've been programmed like this is what right is, this is what wrong is, this is what good is, this is what bad is, right?
Right.
And now here we are, 30, 35, 40, 45-year-old, grown men going, well, shit,
I ain't wearing that fucking mask.
Exactly. Like we're kind of these caged animals. I mean, our DNA is we're killers. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that you didn't have a plastic card that you swiped at a fast food restaurant and you got a burger. If you didn't go hunt and kill something, you starve. Period. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, I'm not talking thousands and thousands and thousands of years, like 100 fucking years ago. If you didn't go hunt, you didn't eat, right? Yeah. Nowadays, it's like, oh, hunting's bad and this is bad and that's bad. And it's like, no, motherfuckers, like you've just been programmed completely different. And people talk about, well, we evolve and we this and we that, and you can look at it however you want, but at the end of the day, man is a man, and we're programmed in our DNA a very specific way, and I believe in that, and it's something that I'm a huge advocate of.
So I think a pretty cool thing that a lot of people don't know is that the Lions Not Sheep came before all this shit with the mask and this current election, and I guess the current climate of society that. Actually, when you posted up about it the other day, It was the first time that I had known that. And the timing of it and how relatable it is to one of the biggest issues we're facing now is it's super relevant. And I think a lot of people are learning from it, from listening to you and kind of watching you blow up. But the way you say that it's not that long ago, this shit was just so different. And things have
It really wasn't. I mean, I was talking with my fiance this morning about, you know, I mentioned to you guys my restaurant, like government's coming in trying to fuck with us and the mass, and we can talk about that later. But like, people haven't studied history. They don't realize, like, I mean, we look at what's right in front of our face, right? We see what's like right here. And at the end of the day, like when you step back and look at our culture and our society and, you know, how we are and how we operate, right? Like we're definitely a community. And so you have to operate within the confines of this community. But what does that look like? Right? Like who dictates the laws of the community? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm an individual within the community, but at the same time, like if there is no source of abundance from the community, the entire thing dies. I mean, Jack Donovan, who's a phenomenal author.
I love his stuff.
You read his stuff. He actually lives here, and I train with him every now and again. He talks about this, and he talks about how literally like masculinity is dying because we've outsourced all of masculinity. And you stop and think about it. Like, case in point, you get in trouble, you call 911. Like you've outsourced your security. You've outsourced your protection. You're waiting for some dude to roll up with the red and blue lights to come protect you, to make you safe, to keep you safe, right?
Go to the grocery store to get
you've outsourced your food. You've outsourced your survival, right? You've outsourced literally everything. I mean, he talks about in one of his books about how literally like what's the need of a man anymore? Women can do the exact same shit, right? You can go get groceries. You can call 911. You can do all these different things, right? And you stop and think about it. Right. Like, so it's just true.
You don't need us.
You don't need us, right? But that's the thing that I think is really phenomenal about the conversation is, you know, as men, I mean, you know who you are. You know what the fuck you really want.
You know what you're pulled internally to do.
Exactly. And I think what's really fascinating about, you know, our culture now is you've got social media. The introduction of social media has really changed the game in a lot of ways, good and bad, right? It's connected us. I wouldn't know you guys without social media. I wouldn't have built a multi-million-dollar business without it, right? Definitely. I mean, I did very well prior to social media, and I'll do very well after social media, right? It's like adapting, pivoting, moving, using this tool. But it's really, really, really a fascinating conversation because inside, as I work with men and coach men, you know, there's this innate killer inside of all of us that has been suppressed. And we've been told that this is wrong, this is bad. It's bad to have anger. I have anger all the fucking time. And I meditate like a motherfucker. Like I've done plant medicine. I'm in complete control of my mind, but I get angry all the fucking time, right? And then the idea of that is, well, that's bad.
Right.
You should figure out how, bullshit, motherfucker. Like the truth is there's light and dark inside of every man. And the idea that we're just going to live in this fairy tale land of Skittles and rainbows in light all the time, and we're always going to be singing Kumbaya and holding hands, that's not true.
And the result, record levels of depression,
right?
All kinds of mental health issues,
right.
Like the caged animal effect is real.
Yeah.
You know, and so what do you say, like, how do you channel that innate desire to hunt, kill, provide, protect, all the things that we feel compelled to do in the modern era, right? Like, how do you do that and still satisfy that? I mean, obviously business is a great way. Not everybody's an entrepreneur though.
Sure.
You know, so like, I mean, I like to go in the gym and fucking kill it. And, you know, there's ways to do it, but just as general advice to young men, especially like in school, because that's where they're really getting fucked, man. Like they're being told by their teachers and everybody, like, this is bad. Basically, who you are is bad. Like, who you are innately is not good. So, like, what do they do?
It's probably going to surprise you how simple this is, but as the father of two sons,
oh, that's right,
and a daughter, I've got an 18-year-old girl, 14-year-old boy, and an 11-year-old boy. It'll surprise you how simple it is, but how radically difficult it is for pretty much everybody listening to this right now to do. And it's really simple. Tell the truth. Like, legitimately tell the truth. Like, right. What comes into your mind, your heart, is truth, right? Your truth. And what's really fascinating, if you think what you just said, there are record numbers of male suicide now.
Yeah.
There's more men killing themselves today in 2019 than during the Great Depression.
Right.
Why?
Than ever before.
It's not because there's a lack of money. It's not because there's a lack of opportunity. It's not because there's a lack of pussy. Why? It's because men have literally been sedated and shamed from speaking their truth. Like, I love sex. I love fucking. I love, like,
Yeah, you're
having,
not supposed to be able to talk about
you know
it.
what I'm saying? And the reality is, like, me saying that and talking about that and having these carnal desires for my woman. Oh, no. We don't talk
Right.
about that.
When we
you have to
all
get
have-
consent. Like, you need to give her an iPad and say, baby, can I fuck you right now? Bullshit. Right? And you talk to a woman, you talk to my queen, she ain't looking for that.
Right.
And most women are not looking for that.
Most,
They're looking
yeah.
for a man to show the fuck up and be a man. But what do? We sit on our phones, playing fantasy football going, hey, babe, do you want to do it tonight? That ain't turning your woman
Yeah.
on, right?
Yeah.
But again, this goes back to the answer to that question is really, really, really simple, yet it's the most difficult thing for most human beings, men especially, to do, and it's to tell the truth. And here's why, is when you think about like a thought that you have, right? Just a carnal thought. You introduce religion, right? I don't know if you guys grew up religious. I grew up Catholic. I was an altar boy, blah, 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 right? The carnal mind is a sin. It's bad. If you look at a woman and have a dirty thought, you're bad. Bullshit, man. There isn't a motherfucker out there that doesn't see a hot chick walking by on the beach and look at her and say she's hot. There's nothing wrong with that.
Science.
There's nothing wrong with that. And here's my point. I mean, I believe in God. We can talk about that later. But that's truth, right? And there's all these men that want to walk around. I don't think those things. You're a fucking liar,
Full
bro.
fucking shit.
Baby, I don't think about anybody other than you. You're a fucking liar. I can look at my woman and legitimately say, that chick's fucking hot. It doesn't mean I'm going home with her. It doesn't mean I'm running after her on the beach. It doesn't mean I'm trying to pursue her. I can legitimately look at her, and she can look at a dude and be like, he's a fucking good-looking dude. And I'd be like, he is a good-looking dude. And that's truth. And I think that's what we're missing in our culture and our society, especially between men and women in relationships. And as the father of two boys, like I've sat down and talked to my son. My son's 14, right?
Ooh.
Kid's getting boners.
Yeah.
Kid's got hair on his legs. He's
Fun
growing
times.
up. He went from a little pipsqueak, nerdy, like just a little squeaky kid, fucking dude. He's like a dude. And to think that my son isn't getting boners and having thoughts of chicks and all of these things is just bullshit. And I've been, well, son, you just need to focus on God. Come on, man. When you were 14, what were you doing?
Yeah.
You were getting boners and you were thinking about chicks and you were trying to figure this whole game out.
Staying up with Showtime on mute.
Well,
You know what I'm
how
saying?
different
And
is
so truth to me is the great equalizer. And this is what we're missing in our culture. It's what we're missing in our families. It's what men are not participating in, is telling their women the truth, telling culture, their society, their social media the truth, right? We're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of all these things when deep down inside, this is our truth.
Yeah.
Now, behind the scenes, we'll have all these conversations, but when I can't say anything in front of anybody else in case they'll judge me. Fuck judgment. They're going to judge you either way, no matter what you say. No matter what you say, no matter what you do. And this is a huge lesson that I love to share inside of Lions on Sheep. This is something that changed for me, that helped me go from that guy trying to be politically correct, say the right things, to truly not giving a fuck. Is no matter what I say, I'm going to be judged.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm fat, it's because I'm a lazy piece of crap. But if I'm ripped, it's because you got to be taking fucking steroids, right?
Yeah.
If I'm poor, it's because I'm lazy and I'm undisciplined and I'm a disgusting, non-contributing member of society. If I'm rich, it's because I'm a snake oil salesman and I'm ripping people off. No matter where you go in life, people are going to judge the shit out of you. No matter what I say, whether I talk about sex this way or that way or making love or fucking, someone's
So
going to
you might
judge
as
it.
well
So you might as
be
well
true to
speak
yourself.
your
Yeah.
truth. And I
Yeah.
think that's the reason so many men are in such turmoil right now and why there's so much anger and resentment in the marketplace, why so many marriages are failing,
Yeah.
why so many homes are broken, why so many kids are growing up doing drugs and getting into a lot of trouble because dad's not there. And even if he is there, he ain't there
He ain't there.
because he's letting the school teach them, he's letting
Yeah.
society teach them, he's letting the news teach them. Like at the end of the day, my kids are in public school. They're going to get what public school brings to them, right? They're going to get what's on social media. I am the great denominator there. I am the great equalizer there. It's up to me to teach my children what that reality is versus trying to put them in the bubble wrap and hide and lie and pretend that, this, and this. Truth is without question the greatest remedy to every single ailment. I'm quoting Jordan Peterson right now. It's the greatest ailment the greatest remedy to every ailment on earth. Truth is the great denominator. It's the great equalizer.
I love that. Let me ask you this, kind of going off that, because obviously you have a
Has
daughter.
anybody told
and
you you look
son.
like Dan Bilzerian, by the way? Good Lord.
You probably
Every
just
time
made his day, man.
Thanks, man.
I'm sure you
gonna
get
take
that
that
a
one
lot.
to the bank with me. I've gotten that a couple times.
Yeah.
But,
Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah.
you have a daughter.
Mhm.
You have two sons. That conversation that you have to have. Do you approach it differently, or did you just straight up with them? Like, was there a drastic way that you raised them differently? Obviously, your first child's a little different.
Right.
But I asked that obviously from a place. I just had my first child. I had a daughter 6 months ago. And everyone says, as you're growing up, and Dave has a daughter as well, the difference between, raising, girls and boys, is it a big thing now?
It is, but it isn't. Like, I'm the same with my daughter, with truth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter's obviously not getting boners, so we're not having that conversation about boners. You know what I'm saying? But my daughter's 18 and the whole thing. And what I've chosen to do with my daughter is to show her, if I want my princess to grow into a queen, I got to treat her as such. And I just chose, years ago as she started evolving and growing, like, I remember the first time she had her period, right? It was this big, like, hush-hush thing. And I said, look, here's the deal, girl. Like, we're not going to deal with this, right? You give me the signal and I'll know, right? And there's times where she's, Dad, I'm here. And I'm like, cool, I got it, done and done. I need to go to the store, right? And it's not awkward because the reality is women have periods, right? And to think my daughter's not going to have that is a fucking lie. So I'm like, yo, instead of trying to beat around the bush and butter this shit up, just tell me you're emotional, you're on your period, and we'll be straight, right? And I think truthfully, like, there's tons of people to judge that and say what's right or wrong. I don't give a fuck. It's my family. It's my children. It's my kids are great kids. I mean, I don't know what the benchmark is, but I have a phenomenal relationship with them, and it's built around trust. And I had a really cool experience probably 6 years ago with my daughter. I was in a religious marriage, and when I got divorced, I just kind of shied away a little bit from religion. Very, very, very spiritual. Like, I believe in God. I'm more connected to God than I've ever been in my entire life. I'm just not religious, going in the building, doing the deal. And, part of the Mormon culture, which is what I had been in for a number of years, was drinking and the entire deal. And I'll never forget, as long as I lived, my daughter was probably 11. We were camping, we're sitting around the fire, and I'm drinking a beer, and she didn't really know at the time, right? And, Dad, can I have a sip? I'm like, no, this is daddy drink, right? And the next day, she's out playing, and she's kind of got this chip on her shoulder. I'm like, baby, what's up? She's like, nothing, Dad. And I'm like, no, tell me what's going on. And she's like, she looks at me, she's like, I know that you were drinking beer. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And she's like, I don't care if you're drinking beer, Dad. Just don't lie to me about it. Ooh. And in that moment, I looked at my kid, and she's my oldest. And I was like, I will never, and I told her this, I said, I will never lie to you again. And I chose in that moment to not try and protect them, but give them the truth. Not try and create a distorted reality that I thought I wanted them to participate in, but to give them the truth. And so when I talk to my daughter about anything, about boys, about this, about that, like, it's all on the table. And I truly believe, like, that is what has connected me to them, the way that we're connected. I mean, I have a very, very, very close relationship with all of my children. And I think that is truly what's allowed them to open up to me as well. We talk a lot about stuff. And when my daughter's dealing with some stuff, it's not just the airy-fairy, well, go talk to your mom kind of a thing. Like, I'm involved in her life. I know what's going on. I know she's, 18 and dating boys and doing the deal. And I know what my son's got going on. And I truly believe that has come, from me taking that space of understanding, like, I could try and pretend that the world looks like this and make it to be sunshine and rainbows for these kids, or show them and teach them what's truth.
Yeah, because then they'll just get eaten fucking alive.
It's exactly right.
And it's like with the daughter, I mean, we all have daughters, and I just always think about the fact that, like, I'm setting the example to her of what a man is, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, if you set that standard of truth and speaking your truth and transparency and all of, like, she's going to seek that out in someone else. You talk about her dating boys now, like, I think that's a damn good way to go about it, right?
Yeah, she went to a school dance last year, and I'll never forget, this was like one of the highlights of being a dad. It was like one of her first dances, right? She looks pretty, and he's there, and they come and pick him up and the whole thing. And when she came home, I said, how was it? She just had this kind of, like, dejected look on her face. She's like, it sucked. And I was like, why did it suck? And the first thing she says, she just looks at me, she's like, he didn't open up a single door for me.
Ooh.
And I'm smiling, right? Inside, I'm like, yes. Because this is something that I have shown her, not just told her, but shown her throughout her life. Like, we walk up to a door, baby, and I grab the door and I open up the door. I open up her car door. Like, it's just what it is. And
you get some shit for that nowadays.
It's your daughter. Like, it's no big deal. Fuck that shit, dude. Yeah. If I want my daughter to be a queen and to respect the fuck out of herself, and to expect a king to show the fuck up, then that's how I'm going to show up.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to show her. That's what I'm going to teach her, and not just tell her, find a boy that's going to respect you. If you haven't respected her, how the fuck is she going to know what that is?
She's got to know what
if I haven't spent time literally dating my daughter, taking my daughter out on daddy-daughter dates, how the fuck is she going to know what that looks like, what that feels like, to have that connection? Same thing with my boys. If I'm not spending time with them and having conversations about jerking off and getting boners and all this other shit and girls and the whole deal, where's that going to come from? You understand what I'm saying? And so for me, with her especially, it's showing her, and this is something I'm a huge advocate of, because, you know, your parents, right? Mm-hmm. You probably remember like a lot of the things your dad did, but you don't really remember a whole lot of the stuff he said. And I look back in my childhood, and I remember how I never went fishing with my dad. I never went hunting with my dad. I never remember playing ball with my dad. I asked my mom a couple months ago, I was like, did Dad and I ever like do guys' night or anything like that? We never did. My dad wasn't a bad dad, but my dad got up before the sun came up, and he was home when the sun came down, and he worked all day long. And that's what his jam was. He walked in, he had some cocktails. That was my childhood, my life. You know what I mean? And so it doesn't make him a bad dad or make it that. I just realized like I didn't have that relationship with my father. My father didn't show me anything with life. He told me, go live your dreams, go blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, he worked at a job that he hated and the whole thing. And so I chose years ago as a father that I could be like that, and I could tell my kids how to dream. I could tell my daughter, you know, find a boy that'll respect you, and I could tell my boys, you know, this, that, and the other, or I could fucking show them. Yeah. And so, you know, my anticipation and prayer is like at some point in time, you know, my kids are leading their own lives, doing their own deal because they watched me do it, not because it's something that I told them to do or they saw on a TV show or read in a fucking book. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We had this conversation with Seth Feroci on he was our last guest. And basically we were talking about this and, you know, we were saying like, if you don't show them, if you're not the example, they're going to seek an example somewhere. And today with our globalized society and the internet, and if they're going to look there, and they might get the example from some fuckface on YouTube, you know, just because you're not present and setting the example for them. You know, you know what's out there. There's all kinds of shit. And so it's like more than ever, like we have to be the example. And
well, he said it too. The way you said it, I guess just the way you worded it kind of resonated with me. They're at school, public school, they're going to be taught that. A big reason why a lot of probably the youth is the way it is because when they do get home, the father is scared to be judged by society on how you're raising your kid. You're too strict. You're too stern. You can't do this. You can't talk to them about jerking off. Well, that's why. Because the only thing they're taking in now is where the fuck they're getting at school or what they're seeing on their phone. Right. So there's so much toxic, I'm going to say toxic, like dumb shit that they're fucking taking in.
Yeah. Well, and it's a really easy scapegoat, too, for a lot of, we keep hearing, and I can't stand this, like, society's fucked. Well, newsflash, we're part of society.
Yeah,
we are society. So, you know, if you're saying that, then you're saying you're fucked. Like, I've chosen, and to, let me go to the conversation about masculinity. Like, I'm doing me. Like, I'm building me. I'm living my life. Like, I've never lived this day. I've never lived tomorrow. God willing, I get to it, right? Yeah, there's been tons of people that have come before me that they have their own realities, right? And you think about, like, you know, we can go down a really deep rabbit hole with this conversation, but like every book that's ever been written is just somebody else's perspective. Like every podcast, this is just our perspective. That's it. Like you're just listening to us shoot the shit, right? You might think something different. You might get something from this and go, man, I didn't think about that. All it is just a piece of data for you, right? So you think about all of these books and coaches and coaching courses and motivational videos and speakers and all of this other stuff. It's just data. It's all it is. It's somebody else's life. I mean, David Goggins is David Goggins. He's lived his own fucking life. He had a shitty childhood. He's told us all about it. He became a Navy SEAL. He's a badass, and he runs, and he does these fucking great videos of him running down the street. Dope, right? Like, that's David Goggins' reality. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it good? Is it bad? It's none of it. It's just David Goggins. And so it's like, when you stop and think about it, I'm writing my own book. I'm writing my own shit. There is no right or wrong. There is no good or bad. Like, it's based off of who and what. What I determine good or something that I like, you might think sucks or is bad or I'm going to go to hell for, and, you know, all of these other conversations. Like, I had another story about my daughter. I had probably one of the most profound conversations. And I can't wait for you guys to, how old's your daughter?
6 months.
Just about 4.
Okay. You guys aren't there
we
yet.
got a while.
You got a while, but this is going to happen. And this was one of the highlights of the relationship that I have with my daughter. This is about the same time, a number of years ago. Mom's Mormon. I've kind of not going to church deal. Like I've never been like, fuck religion, the whole thing. It's great for the people that need it, right? It's just not in my wheelhouse right now. Yeah. But very, very, very spiritual. We pray, we read, I'm all about whether you're reading the Bible, or whether you're reading the Bhagavad Gita, whatever it is, right? My daughter comes over for our weekend. And I have a great relationship with her mom now, and it was really strange for a while. We have a phenomenal relationship, and she had kind of that chip on her shoulder again. And I'm like, babe, what's up? She and I are very similar, like kind of shut down, like a little bit emotional. I'm super emotional. She's emotional. Yeah. What's up? She won't tell me. So finally, I grab her hand and I'm like, baby, come here. And I pull her upstairs to my room and I'm like, sweetheart, I know something's up energetically. Something's telling me we got to have a conversation. And she looks at me. She's like, I'm confused, Dad. And I'm like, what are you confused about? And she gets really emotional. She's like, Mom says, you drink whiskey, you smoke cigars, you're living with your girlfriend. These are all bad things. And I'm looking at her, and inside I'm like, clap. I'm like, yes, here we go. Let's go down this fucking rabbit hole. And she's, an early teenager, right? And so she's inquisitive. I was inquisitive as a teenager. My dad was Catholic. My mom was Mormon. Mom went to this church. Dad went to this church. I was asking all kinds of fucking questions when I was a kid. Well, God, and what are these missionary guys doing? And what's heaven and what's hell and what's good? I'm asking all these questions. Here's my daughter saying to me, I'm confused. And we sat down on my floor, knee to knee, for a couple of hours. And I just asked her, I'm like, how do you feel? Forget the books. Forget all of these things. What is God to you? Your relationship, your what's right or wrong. If God came down today, what's heaven? What's hell? Who's going to go here? Where's mom going to go? Where's dad? And it was just this critical thinking, man. And it was such a dope conversation, because what I find is we're not having conversations like this as fellas or with our kids, with any of this shit. And this is why I love this. This is why I said, let's do this podcast. Because I love having these kinds of conversations, because all we're doing is shooting the shit, but showing other people that this is normal for a bunch of friggin' quote unquote tattooed alpha fucking guys, the beards, guns, America, Trump, right?
But here we are
we're talking about the girls and conversations
and
about daughters. And dude, I'm not kidding you, man. It was one of the dopest conversations I've ever had with a human being, because I was watching her question all of these things, but not in a negative way. It was truly her discovering what she felt, what she believed, what felt good to her. You know what I'm saying? And dude, those types of experiences as a father to me mean more than anything, because you don't get that. You
seem like you got real excited to have that conversation. You were waiting for her to ask.
And it's not again, this is sit down. All right, babe, let's talk about God. Tell me what you think about God. Okay, that's great. Well, check please. Let's go get some cheesecake and then we'll go play some games and our date night's over. It was her in this moment of questioning. And see, I didn't grow up that way. My dad told me what was right and what was wrong. Said, shut the fuck up. This is what, don't do this, don't do that. Smack you around a bit. Go. I was raised in a very Irish Catholic household. That's what it was. You talk back, you got smacked. I got the belt, the whole deal, right? But I turned out pretty good, I think. You know what I'm saying? But again, I'd
say so.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a very interesting piece to me. It is. I always ask this. I asked David when I first met him, is your mindset, right? And the way you are, and you're out there, you're known, you're vocal. Where did that come from? Was it a mindset change after a big incident or event in your life? Is it something that you were taught? Is it something you grew up with? Is it just in you?
Before we get to that, what was the outcome of that conversation?
Oh, dude, it was beautiful, because it connected us in a way. And what it did is it opened her up. It showed her where I was, because I told her, I was like, I don't have, mom is going to church and saying this is bad and all of these things. And I said to her, I said, baby girl, if I'm drinking whiskey and someone's drinking Diet Coke and God comes down, what's right and what's wrong? Who's good and who's bad? And she had to critically think about these things, right? And it was so beautiful, because she formulated her own reality. And what I realized as a dad is that I never had that opportunity as a kid. I went to mass. I was told this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. You don't question anything. You say a couple of rosaries, throw your money in the basket, you're straight, right? Or, joining the Mormon church. And I was a Mormon missionary for 2 years, going out and telling everybody, this is good, this is bad, this is what the book says, this is what God says. all these other things. And as I step back from that reality, I started questioning things. I'm 42 years old and I ask why more than an 8-year-old. Because I really want to fucking know. Like, bro, we haven't found the bottom of the ocean yet. We don't know what the hell is out in space. Like, we think we do, but like, we haven't found the edges of the universe. Like, I'm constantly questioning and exploring for me as a grown-ass man. And I'm watching my daughter, she was probably 12, 13, have this experience of answering these questions for herself or being okay not knowing and saying this is part of the journey, right? And it was a pivotal moment for me. It was great for she and I. It was a pivotal moment for me as a dad, realizing that I have two choices. I can try and do what my dad did and program, this is right, this is wrong, shut the fuck up and do it like this, which thinking that my kids aren't going to go question things on their own is just stupid. Yeah. Or I can really show them and lead them and guide them in asking their own questions, in coming up with their own answers, and exploring when they come up to me instead of saying, well, it's just the way it is because I'm dad, right? I'm an adult. You're a kid. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Letting them have this experience of being an inquisitive child and realizing, too, that if you're 30, 35, 40, 45 years old and you ain't asking questions, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
You're dead, man. You should be asking questions about everything. And it doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. Like, you can question God. You can question your church. You can question your lover. You can question the government. You can question these things. And it doesn't mean you're some radical, oh, shit, you're questioning God. Let's have an intervention. Bring the priest in. Like, you know what I'm saying? No, dude, like, go on a fucking journey. Explore these things. Like, ask questions. Visit different church, different experiences. Hang out with different people. We live in this bubble where it's like, hang out all the same. Meanwhile, I'm saying this is like, we fucking all three of us look goddamn same. But like, the reality is like exploring life.
Yeah. Well,
and I want to be the dad that encourages my kids to do that. And I can tell them to do that, or I can be the dad that's doing it.
Exactly. And that's a beautiful way to distinguish it. And I think a lot of parents take that fucking easy way out where it's like, nope, it's this way because I'm dad and I said so. Because your way, it's much more nuanced. It's way tougher. It requires a lot more effort on your part. But goddamn, does it produce way better humans.
You want to know why dads do that, though? Because they don't know.
That's true. And
you want to know why dads say, well, this is the way it is? Because they get scared.
Because their dad told them, too.
Exactly. And this is what I find in coaching, and I've coached hundreds of people. This is what I found is like, we say that because they don't know. It's scary, man. Exploring shit and saying, I don't know, is incredibly, incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But we as alpha men, like, I'll just bullshit my way through it. You want to know what's dope is not knowing.
Yeah.
I hang out with people that like we sit around fires and smoke cigars, and we're talking about radical, weird, out of the like Joe Rogan kind of shit, like talking about aliens and the universes and the cosmos and all this other stuff. But what's interesting is most dads do. I realized that my dad did that because my dad didn't fucking know. My dad didn't want to know. He didn't want to go on a journey. He was punch the clock. This is who I am. This is my life. I'm going to sit in this seat, drive this car, and it's going to look like this, smell like this, be like this until the day I die. He never asked questions. He went to mass every Sunday, did his deal, threw the money in the deal. You know what I mean? Mom can go to church. She can do what she wants. That's totally fine. And that's what's really fascinating is like having the polarity of how I was raised to how I'm raising my children. It's radically different. Yeah. And I think this is why going back to truth is when you ask somebody, like, you ask a Catholic, what's Catholicism? I don't really know. Like, I just go to church and it's what it is. And I'm a Christian. I believe in God.
I'm a sheep.
And it's like, okay.
To do it.
Well, and maybe they're sheep, maybe they're not. Maybe they just haven't fucking stopped and asked any questions.
Right. But I think that's
and that's really what I love about life, and what my objective is with Lions Not Sheep, with my life, with these podcasts, with everything is like helping people see, because I can't tell you what to do. You do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
But showing people that it's really, really, really cool to be able to question things and to find out on your own and to ask deeper questions and to challenge things, not because you're trying to be defiant, but because you're really trying to fucking learn something.
And it's like, we're fucking here. We're here once.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck not?
Yeah.
Why not ask those questions? Dude, I got chills when you were talking about having those campfire conversations, Joe Rogan style stuff. Like, that is so exciting to me, and it's so frustrating when I'm interacting with like my peers who are like, I don't know, man, I don't give a shit. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Because I'm busy with the job and everything. It's like, bro, there's a whole world.
Yeah.
Like, once you lose that curiosity, you lose your excitement for life, and like
We just talked about that on our coming out here. He's like, dude, this is fun. Like, trip out here, just me and you. We're gonna experience fucking Utah. Like, we got we're gonna go out. We'll have some drinks tonight and just kind of fill out the area. And we're like, that's part of life. That's part of building this podcast. Is for shit like this, because we're sitting here and we're learning shit from you. We're just punching, going through cruise control life.
It would be I would be
fucking
safe.
sitting in Utah right
yeah,
now.
but is it, man? Like, I challenge people on that because
that's why. Yeah.
You know, people ask me all the time, like, what's my biggest fear? And I don't know how many people have really asked themselves that question or thought about it, but I think about it all the time.
Mine.
I know very, very, very distinctly what my fear is. I've visioned my own death. Like, I vision my death all the time. And chances are, and I've shared this, like, I'm not going to be some old man laying on a deathbed. I'm going to fly my race car off a cliff or put too much tannerite and fucking blow myself up or some stupid shit like that. But hey, let's just assume that I make it to 90-something years old and I'm laying there. Like, my biggest fear is laying on my deathbed knowing that I don't have any options. Like, my biggest fear is literally being at that moment in life where you know you're checking out. Yeah. And I could have all the money in the world. I could have billions of dollars. And I couldn't go back and buy an experience. I couldn't go back and live my 30s again. I couldn't go back and travel to those places. I couldn't go back and experience what I want to experience with my children or you know, my woman or anything like that. Like thinking about that is what drives me to be who I am today, and asking questions and challenging things and wanting to know and wanting to live, right? Like, we can stack this cash and save and save and save and save, and all of a sudden, boom, all of a sudden you're dead and you're like, shit, well, I was thinking that when I turned 65 and then I could retire and then I could actually live life, and boom, you're dead at 52 and you get hit by a bus. Like, my biggest fear is not having options. And when you really stop and think about that, we're all headed there. Some of us, it might be earlier. Some of us might be unexpected. Some of us might be planned, whatever it ends up being. Like, every human being listening to this podcast right now will end up in that spot.
Same place.
And what I literally have vision, like, I want to literally be laying on my deathbed with my kids hanging out, and we're just laughing because we're sharing about this story and this experience and that experience. You remember that one time this? And then I can die knowing that I empowered my children to live life.
Yeah.
They're not squabbling about my fucking money. They don't give a shit about my money because they made their own fucking millions. Right. They lived their own life, right? But, like, the idea that playing it safe is this way to go. Like, if you stop and think about that, it's in my opinion, what's keeping people paralyzed. It's what keeps people on the fence. Is like, well, you know, let's just hypothetically say you want to start a business, right? You've been working at the same job. You're great at your job. You're working there for 20 years, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm sick of it. I want to start my own business. Like, what's riskier is not doing that, because at some point in time you're going to have that regret,
and you can go back to it.
And that's my point. Let's just say you spend all of your fucking money and you go and you suck ass at it. Go back to doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like there's just this finality. You asked the question, like, where did it kind of start?
Yeah.
Right. And I almost took my life. I almost killed myself. I was in a really dark place after my divorce, and one night I was sitting there with a bottle of Jack and having tremendous remorse about where I was. And I had that moment where I was like, what did I do? Like, I left my family, I left my fucking business, I stuck my head up my ass, and I was in a really dark place, like, questioning everything. Like, what am I fucking doing? Why am I even here? And I had that, you see the cartoons with the angel and the devil, and I ended up calling my ex-wife, like, just needing to have some sort of connection. And I ended up calling her, and her boyfriend at the time was there and said, hang up on him. And he hung up on me, and it sent me down this rabbit hole. And I put a 9mm in my mouth that night, and I danced with the devil. And I was literally trying to sell myself on why I should kill myself, but why I should live. And the next morning I woke up and I had a bottle of Jack on my nightstand, and I had a Ruger P95, like, literally right next to my head on my pillow. And it was in that moment where I was like, dude, I don't want to be like this. Like, I don't want this. I don't want this reality. Like, I've lived my entire fucking life based off of other people's rules, what everybody said is normal, what normal dad looks like, what normal business looks like, and I don't even know who the fuck I am. I never questioned myself. I never questioned anything. I just followed along, marched to the beat of the drum, was successful because I had money and houses and cars and all this other shit, and I had no fucking clue who I was. And, you know, God obviously had a bigger purpose and a bigger reason for me than to blow my brains out, but in that moment, I just went on a quest. And it wasn't to, like, figure out how to build big business and make a ton of money. It was like, why the fuck am I even here? Like we're on this rock. We're little teeny specks on this giant rock that's spinning at thousands of miles an hour through the fucking cosmos. You know, why am I here? Why did God put me here in this period of time right now? Like, that's my quest. That's what I'm after, is like to truly understand that. And the more I understand, the more I learn, the less I know. And that's what's dope about life to me, is like I'm constantly questioning. There's no bottom to this rabbit hole. There is no top of the mountain, right? No, see at the top. There is no fucking top. No, like this entire quest is the game. And I realize, like, I'm not living my life for a future point, for a future moment of retirement or this or this or this. I might be dead by dinner. So if I'm going to be dead by dinner, I'm going to fucking live today as if it's the dopest day ever. I'm going to say everything that comes into my heart, everything that comes into my mind. I'm going to speak those words. I'm going to send those text messages. I'm going to share my message, share what God's putting inside of my soul. Because if I don't, like, what's the point? Right. You know what I'm saying? And I truly, like, I mean, to answer your question, like, it was in that moment when I pulled away from everything and just thought to myself, like, why am I even here? And what do I want? And I ask myself that question 1,000 times a day. What do you want? What do you want? And I'm constantly evolving and building that, and then finding this and seeing what feels good and what doesn't feel good, and what I like and what I don't like. And, you know, and it's just this constant every day waking up saying, what chapter am I writing today? Yeah. What do I want to do today? Where do I want to be today? How do I want to be today? And literally mapping that out and just building that motherfucker and that reality every single day.
And it seems like, you know, that experience, it almost simplified everything from the way you're saying it, the way I'm taking it. It's to live life, you know, and experience every single day, and not go through cruise control on the experiences of what you have, and embracing that. You said it earlier, you know, I'm living today. I'm not living for Wednesday, tomorrow.
I might not be there. Like, if you really think about that, like, really think about it. Like, I could hand you $1 billion right now and say, change 6 months ago. You couldn't.
Not fucking happening.
I could hand you $1 billion and say, change tomorrow. You have an idea of what you would do with it tomorrow. Newsflash, you're dead at dinner. So when you really, like, grasp that and understand that and think about it that way, right? It's not this trivia where I'm just spending all my money and living this sex, drugs, and rock and roll frivolous lifestyle. It's understanding that
Dan Bilzerian.
There is Dan Bilzerian. There's nothing guaranteed, right? Exactly. And we've heard this and we've read this and there's been all these books, but somehow in our minds, we as men and alphas think that we're bulletproof, right? You go back and you study. I love studying history, and I love studying people that have come before me, right? You read these biographies of all of these wealthy and powerful moguls, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the Steve Jobs of the world, right? They all say the same thing at the end of their book. All of them, like, without fail. They all say, if I could go back and do it all over. Now, again, they're on their deathbed. They're literally on their deathbed. They've lived their life. They've stacked their cash. They've dominated markets. They've changed the fucking world. They've made billions and trillions of fucking dollars. And they're all leaving their parting wisdom, like their final words. They don't say, dude, I wish I'd have worked 23 hours instead of 20-hour days. They all say, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have spent more time doing the things I wanted to do, and I would have spent more time with my family, without fail. Yeah. So I'm looking at it saying, if Carnegie's looking at me saying, Sean, if I could go back and be 42 years old, I would spend more time with my family. Why would I not listen to that? Exactly. Why would I not heed that? But what do we do as men? Pound our chest, get on social media. He bought a Lambo. I got to get a Lambo. He's got a this. I got to get a this. When you really stop and think about that, those motherfuckers are literally giving us their prophetic experience and saying, dude, live your fucking life. Like, enjoy it now. Build now. Be in the moment now. There is no tomorrow. There's no yet. It doesn't exist. Right. Exactly. It's literally yesterday is a figment of your imagination. It's not real. It doesn't exist anymore.
And you do a really good job portraying that. I know a lot of people on Instagram or social media, they work 24/7, grind 4:30, whatever. You do a really good job. You show a lot of the fun shit that you do, and you living life. Yeah. And that you can be successful and still do that and have the, be able to go skiing or shooting or whatever the fuck you want to do. Where a lot of people, they try to push that. Well, I'm working 23 hours to buy that fucking Lambo. Everybody tries to be
Gary V.
Yeah. You do a fucking good job at that. It resonates a lot. I sit there, I watch with my wife, and she'd be like, they're out fucking riding side-by-sides right now, shooting. Look at the fucking Trump flag. That's sick. I'm like, yeah, that's what we should be fucking going to do.
Well,
you know?
think about it, man. Why not? Like,
Why not?
Like, I ask myself that all the time. But a question that I was asked years ago, that stumps most human beings. I've asked millionaires this question, multimillionaires, billionaires. I've asked this question, and it's something that is kind of at the forefront of what I teach with Lions Not Sheep. Is what do you want? And I was asked this question, and I want freedom.
Yeah.
I want to be happy. I want success, right? But when you really think about it, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
You ask somebody what they want. Most people say, I want freedom. Cool. I'm free to pick up a pen and stab you in the eye right now. I'm free to do whatever the fuck I want. So I already have that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be happy. You know, we're all smiling right now. Well, you're happy. What does that mean? And what I've literally been on a quest for the last 8 years is answering that question. Like, what do I really want? And that changes and evolves and morphs every single day. It's like when you really think about it, no one wants to be in a cubicle 10 hours a day, right? But we think somehow this is what I've been programmed to believe. This is what you can't work 2 hours a day and make millions of dollars and have fun. You sure as fuck can, because I'm doing it. So if someone's doing it, then why can't you do it?
Right.
And it's like wrapping a lot of the things that we're talking about into this one singular reality. It's because people aren't willing to do what it takes to do these things. And I'm not talking about grind and hustle. Fuck grinding and hustling. There's nothing even remotely sexy about that grind word unless you're talking about sex, right? I don't want to go to work and grind all day long. That's not cool.
Right.
It's not profitable,
it's not
right?
fun.
It's stupid.
Yep.
It's dumb. I want a business that flows. I want a business that flows. I want a business that makes me good money, that doesn't have a ton of friction, that I can work on remotely from my phone or my laptop or
Creates
whatever,
value
right?
for people.
Creates value, right?
Like, yeah.
When you really think about that, like, but then that poses the next question. Well, how do I do it? Well, you're going to have to start talking about things differently, right? Like this all started for me understanding the business thing in the social media game, especially after my divorce. And you guys have heard me share the story, but I was really successful at a young age, self-made multimillionaire, grew up in a single parent home, blah, 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 right? After my divorce and my bankruptcy, like I crawled under a rock. Like my ex-wife had Facebook for a year before I did. I thought Facebook was the stupidest thing ever. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, why would this is just a waste of time, right? Yeah. Says the guy who's on, on a billion views now, right?
Turned,
yes, they've turned, right? Now she mocks me. She's like, did you put that on Facebook? Did you put that on Facebook? I'm like, yeah, I actually did. But my coach had challenged me. He's like, look, man, you're looking at yourself as this failure, and you went through this divorce and this pain. You're trying to build yourself back up. He's like, I want you to start sharing these things. And I'm like, bro, I don't want to share anything. I was terrified, right? And what sparked this whole thing is after the divorce, after all of the shit with my ex-wife, we started rebuilding. And really it was me getting over my shit and understanding who I was and really understanding that I was responsible for all of it. And I quit blaming her for everything and quit being a victim.
That's so powerful too.
It's what we all do, right? My ex did this. Yeah, but the reality is I was an asshole and I was mad and I was angry and I was sad and I was frustrated and all these things. I went to go pick up my kids one day, and this was kind of the beginning of when we were actually face to face. I mean, we communicated through lawyers for 6 months. I mean, it was a really nasty divorce. Anyways, I went to go pick up my kids, and my ex-wife was remarried and had a new baby, which is a whole nother freaking mind fuck in and of itself, right? So I go to pick up my kids, and my kids come to the door, and they're like, Dad, come see the baby. And I'm like, no, get in the fucking car. Let's roll, right? I mean, I haven't really talked to Mom face to face in 2 years, right? Yeah. It's been through lawyers and courts and the whole thing. Like, no, Dad, come see the baby. I'm like, get in the fucking car. Let's roll, right? And anyways, my ex came to the door and she's like, yeah, and you want to come in and see the baby? It's totally fine. I'm like, all right, I'll be in a second. I roll my window. I'm like, fuck. Like, I do not want to go in there, right? I mean, I'm sweating this thing out. I haven't seen her. I haven't talked to her. It's like, it was this huge moment for me. Anyways, I end up going in. I'm sitting down, having a conversation. At this point in time, I had a couple hundred friends. I was still flipping real estate. I had no social media. Lions Not Sheep didn't exist. None of this was even real. And as I'm sitting there, it was like this moment where my daughter, God bless her, like goes and grabs the baby from my ex-wife and like runs the baby over and hands me the baby. I'm like, fuck, like this is a lot, right? It's like drinking through the fire hose.
Mind fuck.
Just bringing me into this thing where I'm like, I spent 2 years like as a child just fucking throwing a temper tantrum, and here I was now like sitting with her and my children and her new baby, and it was just like like blowing my brain.
Can't imagine.
And as I'm sitting there, I grabbed my phone. I took a selfie of me and the baby, and we had said our pleasantries and the whole thing. I took my kids, and I was like, I need a fucking drink after that shit, right? My kids were that night. My kids were getting ready for bed, and I ended up posting that picture on Facebook. And like I said, I mean, I had 200 friends. Like, I was just the average dude who was just sharing stupid shit because I was too scared to share anything else.
Yeah.
And I did for the first time what I had never done before, and I told the truth. And as I shared this picture, I was like, none of you will have any idea what this means to me. Like, I was a dick. I made a lot of mistakes. I was really fucking angry. I wanted to hurt this woman. I wanted this woman to hurt because I was hurting me. What do hurt people do? They hurt people. Yeah. And I told the truth. And I was like I was an asshole. And for the first time, I didn't blame her. I just owned my shit. I told the truth. And I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and that picture had 1K next to it. It was 1,000 likes. And I was like, I don't even know what this means. I'm like shaking my phone. I'm like, this thing must be broken, right? And every single hour for literally almost 2 straight weeks, that post had over 10,000 likes. It went insane viral. Wow. Millions and millions of shares, millions of comments, millions of likes. And I went from a couple, people that I was connected to almost 40,000 followers in 10 days, 11 days. And all these people going, oh my God, you figured it out. This is great. You're such this good. I'm like, whoa, motherfuckers, like,
told the truth.
Pump the brakes. Huh? Yeah. Like, and it was weird because I looked at it and I was like, dude, I shared my like shit with you. Like, I told you how big of an asshole I was. It wasn't this filter like, hey, I made my next million. Check out my new Lambo. It was me literally saying to the marketplace, like, I was an asshole. Like, I was in a really dark place.
But we're all assholes. And
it was truth. And what I realized in that moment, is 2 things. Number one, literally millions of people resonated with this. Why? Because social media is what? It's this fake fairy tale land of bullshit. And here's this dude, this masculine guy who loves MMA, who punches people in the face, talking about his pain and his darkness and his depression and everything else. Like, that wasn't normal, right? And millions of people resonated with it. And then the second thing that I got from that is I felt better. It was almost like you're terrified to speak this truth, and people are going to judge you. People are going to laugh at you. People are going to mock you. But it was my truth. And there were a lot of people that mocked me. There were a lot of her friends that got on there like, yeah, he was an asshole. And I could attest to that, right? But I felt better. And over the coming weeks, I was like, dude, like, I consider myself kind of a smart guy. Like, if this is the recipe to reach a lot of people, to build a tribe, and I feel good along the way, why would I not keep doing this?
It's so liberating too, man.
And literally over the last 6 years, it's just been this thing that I've continued to do, and I've continued to share my life, and I've continued to share the good and the bad and the depression and the frustration and the thoughts and the inadequacies and the fears and all this other stuff. So like, people will build this business. I saw this deal, and I used literally social media as almost like therapy. It was almost like a journal for me. And I realized, like, when I shared scary shit, which was my truth, it was terrifying to me, but it was liberating. And so, again, I'm reading the pages of these guys' books saying, dude, if you could go back, spend time with your family, like, live your life, do your shit, tell your truth versus building it off of this societal reality, I just kept doing it. And literally millions and millions and millions of people have seen the messages and followed, and Lions Not Sheep, came from all of this. And at the end of the day, though, I felt better.
Yeah.
And it's like carrying this weight around as fellas, as men. It's heavy as shit, man. It's demoralizing. It's debilitating at times. All of a sudden you share something that's scary, and you realize people are connected to it. They like hearing it. They like listening to it. They resonate with it. But then you're like, oh, okay, I feel a little bit lighter. I feel a little bit better. That shit's out. It's just become a game to me. You know what I'm saying? How much better can I feel?
Right. Yeah,
how much more can I share?
Dude, and it's funny because we talk on the lines of toxic masculinity with that. Everyone gets labeled, right, as being these bearded dude, tattoos, MMA, fucking guns, all this shit. You're looking at 3 dudes who are sitting here talking about feelings and emotions who get labeled as toxic.
Sure.
But and masculine. And that's the great part of it. That's the irony of the situation. We've been talking about emotions for an hour.
Well, and that happens every fucking time. We sit down and we talk to a masculine guy. It's like, we sat down with Seth. We were talking about, nature versus nurture, genetics, raising kids, all those things. And it's like, a true alpha, a true masculine man is in touch with his fucking feelings
Mm-hmm.
and is okay being vulnerable. And I wanted to go back to your transitional moment where you almost committed suicide, because I've had the very same moment, and I've shared that. And I just like, fellas, like, you need to know that, like, talk about that shit, like, put it out there. Like, many of us have been there, and it's okay. Like, it's okay to fucking, like, and same thing, dude. I was like the most successful I had ever been, money wise and everything. My life had no meaning to it, none whatsoever. My wife and my kid were on vacation. I stayed back because I had to run the business. And I was in tears, like, texting her, and almost fucking ended it all. And that's when everything changed for me too. Like, literally, like a switch flip. And I guess all I would say is, like, you guys see Sean, who's many of you would say is, like, fucking killing it, right? And, like, doing a lot of the things you want to do yourself in life, in terms of, like, living your truth. But he's battled with depression and suicidal thoughts and all these things. So, like,
I still battle with that shit, man.
Same, dude. And
I still get depressed. I
okay.
still deal with it.
It's okay. That's the thing.
It's
like,
normal, and that's like,
right.
that's.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I've had that same thing. I switched career paths and my passion because of a night like that.
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend, my wife at the time, found me at the house on the ground with a couple bottles of liquor and an empty bottle of prescription from when I had surgery. That day, I quit my 9-to-5 sales job and I went and volunteered coaching that got me into this. That time changed everything to me because it made me take a step back, self-reflect, evaluate what the fuck I wanted out of life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't money because I was making a lot of it then.
And this shit doesn't make you less of a man. It makes you more of a man, grappling with those demons.
Yeah, and the idea that you've got to be like, well, here's my story, or here's my story, or my story's this, or my story's that. I empathize with guys because it's not a dick fest of whose gun was bigger that we were going to blow our brains out, or this or that or the other, or how dark this was or that was. It's understanding that the truth is what led to that for every man.
Yeah.
I will say this, and I believe this with all my heart. What leads to that moment for every man is that they've literally bottled up who the fuck they really are.
100%.
They have completely sequestered and become neutered to what they really fucking want in life. And at the end of the day, it leads every man to that moment in one way, shape, or form, whether it's pills and drinking or this or that or whatever. It's truth, man. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, I don't care who you are, where you are. I don't care how rich you are, black, white, gay, I don't give, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, as a man, the thing that is truly killing men, it's killing us, is this truth thing. And it's not that I got to share my story and become this social influencer. I just found this. Like, this just came into my life. Like, people don't realize I didn't wake up one day and go, you know what? What's on to do this today? Let's do a viral video and become this internet guy, right? That wasn't my shit. No. I fucking shared that first video because I was fucking terrified. I was scared, man. I was scared of myself. I was scared of judgment. Here I was, this multimillionaire that crumbled and fucking burned his entire world to the ground. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed of who I was, of what I was. I like hid under a fucking rock because I was like, here's all these other dudes. No one knows how bad I hurt. Like, man, I don't want to share this. And as I started sharing more of it, it connected me to people.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's the thing that people have to realize is, like, you're not a fucking island. Literally, wherever you are right now, if you're driving your car, look around. Everybody in the cars next to you is just as fucked up as you are. They're all dealing with some shit, right? Yeah. If you're listening to this in your office, if you're at the gym right now listening to this shit, literally look around at every one of the fucking meatheads in the gym, all the hot bitches running around, shaking their booties. Like, everybody's fucked in one way, shape, or form. Everybody's dealing with daddy issues or this issue or that issue, or they're afraid, or the programming, or they've been abused, or they've been raped, or they've been molested, or some shit. Everybody's dealing with shit.
Yeah.
And what I firmly, truly believe is that as you share these things, and I'm not talking about, let me just dump all my baggage on social media, but as you start opening yourself up, instead of hiding, thinking that you're broken, thinking that you're fucked up, you realize how normal you really are.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think is really, really important for people to understand is, like, I'm not broken. I put a 9 mil in my mouth. I struggle with depression. I get depressed all the time. I have days where I want to burn my whole fucking world to the ground. People think, like, oh, dude, you're always no. I talk about this openly. Me and Andy Frisilla talk about this all the time. Like, I struggle with depression, right? There are days that I want to literally burn my whole world to the ground. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to literally just like drive my car up into the hills and just be there and like fuck the whole world. That's a regular occurrence for me. And what I really truly pray people get from my messages and what I share in like this conversation, that's okay. You're normal.
Okay, it's normal.
It doesn't make you abnormal. Yeah. It doesn't mean you're fucked. It doesn't mean you got to pop pills. It doesn't mean you like broken. It doesn't mean anything other than you're completely fucking normal.
Yeah.
You're completely fucking normal. And to say that you don't struggle with this or this or that, or you don't have these, I mean, you're lying. And that's cool. I'm okay. Like, you might get to that point later in life. There might be an event that happens or triggers you, but understanding that, like, we as men having these conversations, it's not like this cry fest and sit around, oh, I feel bad for you. It's like, yo, dude, I've struggled with this shit all the time. Cool, I do too. And then you start to really build, like, real relationships with people, not just like, let's go golf and how you doing, buddy? Oh, I'm good. Well, meanwhile, you know that you're popping fucking pills like a motherfucker and your wife's fucking the neighbor and you're fucking your secretary and you know that your dude ain't right, but you can't say it because it's not cool, right? When you talk about alpha, what's alpha? Alpha's the whole game.
Yeah.
Alpha's the whole fucking game. I mean, you talk about Sun Tzu. I'm a huge fan of Sun Tzu in The Art of War. And you think about this idea of being this warrior in the garden, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want my life to be peace, but I'm training myself like violently,
right? Because
I want to know that, like, when that darkness shows up for me, which it does all the time, that I have the tools and the resources and the people and the ability to work my way through that, work my way out of that. You know what I'm saying? And I really, I hope people, I hate the word hope, but I pray that people hear this and understand, like, no matter where you are, it doesn't matter where you're at on the scale of income. It doesn't matter whether you're 400 fucking pounds or you're ripped out of your mind. Like, none of that shit matters. Like, everybody's dealing with something. And the idea that you're broken or that no one knows or that your daddy this or your mommy this or whatever, like that's what makes you dope.
Right.
And that's something I firmly fucking believe. Like, one of my favorite quotes is by Thomas Monson, he was the president of the Mormon Church. He said, "You are who you are today because the choices and decisions that you made yesterday."
Yeah.
And most people look at yesterday as like, I fucked up or I did this or I did that or I made all these mistakes or I lied or I cheated or I stole or I was a bad person and I was a bad person for 20 years and I wronged all. Nah, dude. No. Like, that brought you to this singular moment. This moment that you're listening to this right now. And that makes you fucking badass. Like, all of the things that you have done and experienced has brought you to this singular moment. Somehow you're listening to this podcast wherever you are in the world. And that's dope as shit. And what I encourage people to understand is, like, what makes me a good dad, what helps me connect with my kids, is that I'm able to talk about my depression. Right. I'm able to talk about my contemplation of suicide. I'm able to talk about girls and all of these other things with my kids, and it's real as shit. Like, what connects me to the marketplace and to millions of people is not, it wasn't the filter, bro.
No.
It was my darkness. What connected me literally to millions of people around the world over the last couple of years is me sharing my pain.
Because we all have that darkness, dude.
And people relate.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, that's what, if you think about what people are looking for, we're looking for connection. We're looking to feel wanted. We're looking to feel accepted. We all are. I am. Everybody is, right? But I strongly encourage people to understand, like, you know, your mess is literally your message. Like, what could literally be helping your children right now is you sharing your pain from your childhood.
Yeah.
What could be helping you in your church calling or your business as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a mother, as a father, is sharing your pain, sharing your experiences, sharing where you've been, sharing that darkness. You literally might be the tool, the literal tool to help somebody out of their hole.
Dude.
You sharing who you are, where you've been, what you've experienced in life could literally be the saving fucking grace that someone's waiting to hear and go, oh shit, if they can do it, I can do it.
And that's going to happen for people listening to this podcast that we're doing right now. And just two quick things I want to say based off of everything you just said. You know, the first is, just as an example of that, dude, I was so ashamed of the fact that I had teenage drug addict parents who abused me and we were homeless and poor and all this shit. A big turning point for me was when I embraced that is, oh shit, that's why I'm so fucking strong. That's like, that's a good thing that I went through all that, and now I can share that with others. And there's a kid out there going through that same shit now, and they're like, oh, okay, there's some hope. And again, this is my next question: why do you not like the word hope?
I don't know. It's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that.
I had to ask after you said it.
I think hope has. It's not definitive. Hope is like it's almost like magic, right? It's just this idea that somehow, some way, without any type of action, without any type of movement, that these things are magically going to be cured, if you will. Like, I hope I feel better. You're going to feel better when you fucking get up and move.
Yeah.
I hope I make a ton of money. Yeah, it's there's no. Yeah. I hope that I get this job. No, motherfucker, show up and be the baddest son of a bitch who's ever applied for that job. I hope that this relationship works. No, do the fucking work that you need to be in the baddest ass relationship. I hope that I win this day. Hope is just this empty idea for me.
It's almost like a cop out.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't like the word. I just really.
I get it, dude.
Well, you know what I'm
fired
saying?
up about it.
Well, how about how do you feel about the word faith then? Because I see hope and faith as very similar but different. But I mean,
faith is an actual action.
Okay,
right?
Can you explain that?
Faith is an action. Like, you have to have faith in something. Where hope, what is hope attached to? Hope is almost, in my opinion, I have faith that if I continue to do these things, that this will happen. Hope is like, well, I hope this comes to me. I hope that something shows up for me that I do nothing for, or that, just mystically, magically, I'm blessed by the graces of God, or just because I'm a good person. Where faith is, I have faith that, like, when I push the gas in my car, that it's going to move, right?
Faith has certainty.
And maybe it's semantics, and I don't know. It's just how I am. It's what I think.
It's a good fucking point.
I try not to say that word because I don't like it and has a negative connotation to me. Maybe that's something I got to look at. I don't know. But, like, faith to me is a much more action-oriented word.
Yeah.
Faith has a purpose behind it, where hope is like, well, maybe we'll see. Where faith is like, I'm going to work for this thing.
And I know it's going to happen.
And I know something's going to come from it.
Yeah.
Whether it's what I thought, what I wanted, or what I believed, I don't know.
Right.
But I have faith that this will produce a result.
I like that.
I know. When you said it and you're like, I don't like it, and I was like, I started actually thinking about the word. I'm like, it just feels like.
Yeah, it's just the last couple of years. I don't know why I say that word and it just bugs me. I hear that word.
Dude,
and
I get it, though. Your explanation, I totally get it. I never thought of it that way. And so that's why I was immediately like, well, what's wrong with hope? But then when you laid it out, I was like, oh, shit, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the cure to a lot of these things, I mean, truth and all of this other stuff, it's action. You know what I mean? Idle time is the devil's workshop.
Yeah. And hope is void of action.
Idle time is without question. The shittiest days that I have are the days that I do the least. The shittiest days that I have are the days where I'm in my mind and I'm not doing this, or I'm not keeping my commitments. And you guys know this. I mean, some of the best workouts you've had are the ones where you don't want to be there, where you're just completely unmotivated and you just show the fuck up, and just being there. Yeah. It's not a hope, it's an action. I have faith that I set my alarm, I made my commitment, I did this deal, and I show up, and then all of a sudden something happens. You either connect with somebody or you have this incredible workout, whatever. Action is it's what creates the result, versus hope being, well, maybe somehow, some way, this might show up in my space.
So if you guys take nothing else from this so far, truth and action, two very powerful things, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, truth is, Jordan Peterson talks about it. And,
I love him.
If you don't follow Jordan Peterson, you should.
Goat, dude.
I love that guy, man. He's like a modern day Socrates. But he talks about how, this was one of my favorite stories. It's on YouTube. I'm not sure, type in truth or something like that. He talks about how in our culture and our society, we're so afraid of truth that, like, we literally will go into a doctor. Now, this is a really interesting concept, because think about, therapists, marriage therapists, and everybody's going to therapists nowadays and going to coaches and doing all this other shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, what we're doing is we're going into these therapists or these places, and our leg is broken, right? We have a broken leg, but we're going into the doctor saying, hey, I'm embarrassed that I fell down the stairs or I tripped on ice or whatever. My head hurts. And so literally, like, we're creating relationships, we're dating, talking about these things over here when the truth is really over here. And so the doctor goes in and he fucks with your head and he looks in your eyes and your ears and I could see that there's something wrong with your head. Here's some pills for your head. And you're like, oh God, thank you, doc. I'm going to be cured, right? Well, you walk out and your leg's still fucking broken.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so then, you take the things and your head feels great, but your leg is still fucking broken. And then you're like, oh, that guy was a quack. Let me go over here. And so you go to another therapist or another friend or another peer group or some other mastermind or some other shit, because the truth is you didn't want to tell the truth. And you think about that. Like, that's literally, if you look at why relationships are falling apart, it's because we talk about how our head hurts, but really our leg's broken.
Right.
And it's a phenomenal thought process in why we do what we do, because we're embarrassed of this truth. And he talks about how literally the truth is the greatest. It is the only remedy that works 100% of the time for every ailment on earth. And I truly believe that. Whether it's political, societal, whether it's in our marriages, our relationships, our businesses, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You can pretend the numbers in your business, or you can look at the real fucking numbers. You know what I'm saying? And that idea of us walking into therapists and coaches and counselors and all this other shit saying, my head hurts, and they're going to prescribe you whatever they think you need for your head, and they're going to tell you about your head, and they're going to tell you to meditate and do all these things and pray and rub crystals on your face and the whole fucking thing, and you're going to be super excited about that, and you're going to be super grateful for that, but your leg's still fucking broken.
Yeah, you didn't fix it.
And until you legitimately walk in and be like, yo, I broke my leg, and you talk about the real shit and the real truth, you're just going to keep spinning circles. And spinning circles.
I say it all the time. You open up a whole new world the moment you can actually look in the mirror, whether it's metaphorically or not, and own your own shit. Mm-hmm. Nothing can change until you can self-reflect and self-identify issues. When you talked about your story earlier, when you finally owned that you were a dick to your ex-wife,
it changed. The whole
new
thing
fucking
changed.
world. Nothing can change until you can do that.
Right.
It's very similar to that.
Well, and that's the masculinity conversation you started with.
Yeah.
Is this idea that man looks like this, smells like this, acts like this, talks like this. It's complete bullshit.
Yep.
And the real problem is that knowing that, hey, as a man, these are the things that I like. These are the things I think about. It's not politically correct. Bullshit.
I fucking double armed up last night. I was on your story. I was like, dude, Sean's in the fucking bath. I was like,
I take a bath every fucking day.
He was like, dude, we have to talk about baths.
Because I was like, dude, I fucking love getting pedicures and shit and massages.
Yeah.
And so everybody's giving me shit for it. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'll take a bath. I'll get a pedicure, whatever. And I was like, and then we dove into the rabbit hole last night talking about it. We're like, being a man makes you can do whatever the fuck you want and not care what other people think.
I take a bath damn near every freaking night, dude. I got stacks of books. I got candles. I got a little Buddha statue. I get all fucking zen, and I turn the lights down. I'll read a book. I'll just sit there and meditate.
It's fucking nice.
Oh, dude, it's the fucking best.
Yeah.
It's the best. Like, oh, it's not manly bullshit, bro. I don't care. Then go rub your dick on sandpaper for all I care, but I'm taking a bath, bro.
Yeah.
Taking
That's
a bath
what being
is
masculine is, being a man. That you can do whatever the fuck you want and be okay with it. You're not trying to force it.
Newsflash. You want to know who else likes taking baths? This is my queen. So my queen and I freaking get in the bath and we chat and we talk and we have these amazing conversations and we talk for hours at a time, just chilling in the bath, right?
Dave just can't fit into most baths.
I got a pretty big bathtub. We can fit like
get
4 legit humans in my bathtub. I'm pretty fortunate that way.
Those normal tubs don't cut it, man.
No.
But yeah, I mean that's
the thing. Like what is normal? Like the idea of, well, this is normal or that's normal. Like, what does that even mean? Like, legit, where does it mean? What does normal mean? Like,
how can you look across humanity's so fucking diverse?
Yeah.
What the fuck is normal?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
well, and this is something that I got to a while ago, and it's I quit trying to find right or wrong or good or bad. And I just started looking at shit as how I felt. Like, does this feel good? Does this not feel good? Does this feel like it's progressing me, growing me, expanding me, helping me, making me a better dad, a better father, a better lover, a better leader, or not? You know what I mean? Because what is right or wrong? And you could get a line up 100 people and you get 100 different answers. The good book says this, or this says that, or he says this, or he says, based off whose rules?
Right.
Who determines this?
Ultimately, some other flawed person. Yeah.
And that's why it's like, why does having tattoos and a beard and lifting weights automatically make you a dickhead? I said it, my wife had her on my other podcast the other day, and she's like, all that shit's just judging, like for no fucking reason. When you sit down with Dave, he's probably one of the smartest motherfuckers I've ever met, ever. People look at him, they probably think he can do nothing but count by 45s when he walks into a room, right?
Yeah.
For no reason, he gets it because he's got tats, a beard, and he has fucking big ass muscles. Not to toot your horn. I don't know why I said big ass
Hey,
muscles.
keep
You're
going,
just a
dude.
big fucking he's kind of a loser, but you know what I'm saying? Like they just judge that shit, and like if people took the time
even
to get
that,
to know you,
why not just be like, yo, he's yoked, he's got big muscles. There's anything wrong.
I
There's
just
nothing wrong
I
with
gotta
that.
keep them down.
But
you know what I'm
there's
saying?
So many guys that would not be comfortable saying that because they have this idea in their head that they have to be a certain way. It's like I have
Dave's
no
my
problem.
nutrition coach, and I'm like, dude, I just want to look like you. Okay, I'll make it up.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't fucking care to say that.
But like they just have this idea in their head that they can't do. It's like, fuck, man, I'll compliment you. Like, I'll tell you you're a good looking guy. I don't give a shit because it comes down to being comfortable enough with who you are, right? And not trying to fit into some mold. And that was our whole thing with starting the man card, was like being a man isn't checking these boxes, you know, that are like not taking baths or, you know, not complimenting your bro and not getting pedicures. No, it's just being comfortable enough with yourself and living, going back to what you said, your fucking truth, to say, fuck what you guys think. This is me.
You know what's really interesting about that is just as I'm thinking about this as you guys are talking, like saying I love you. You know, like one of my things that I do every day, every morning for part of my core 4 is I send appreciation text messages. And it's like God's always popping in my brain right? It's like clockwork. Send this person, send that. Like if you think about like men, right? We don't say I love you. Those words, even like to our women or whatever. Look at your buddy, be like, dude, I love you, man. Yeah. Like it's like so awkward and it's so weird. That's the interesting thing about the entire masculinity conversation is it's like simple words. You know what I mean? Truths like that. Like this idea that you think somehow a bath makes you a pussy. Yeah. Like where did that come from?
Where did it come from?
Where did that, you know what I mean? And yeah,
why
we're
does caring
judging
about
that.
your bro and loving him make
right.
you fucking...
We judge that and we can say, well, that's the thing. Everybody is fucking having these realities of judgment, right? We're judging the judgers. Like it's just this entire reality where like what's really dope is when you get to a place where you're like, you know, I like this guy or I don't like this guy. And if I like somebody, I want to hang out with them. I want to spend time with them. I want to get to know them, like create a friendship, right? Or saying, you know what? You're not my jam. And that's totally cool. But dude, go do you. Go kick ass. Go do your thing. It's just not my jam, right?
Right.
And that's what's really fucking dope about sharing your own truth, but knowing your own fucking truth. Knowing these things, like saying this makes you a homo. No, people do that all the time. No homo, bro. But why do you fucking even say that? Like,
why
I love dressing nice. We did a photo shoot and I got this fucking fancy ass suit and the whole thing, and I look damn good. And I can't tell you how many dudes would be like, no homo, but man, you're a fucking good looking dude. I'm like, why can't you just say you're a good looking dude? Like, does that make you gay? Oh, does that downplay your man card? No, that's fucking truth, man. And so hashtag no homo and trying to preface all that shit. Like we live in this day and age that's completely fucked where we got to be these alphas running around beating our chest and shit like that. Like, no, dude, like that's not how I operate, not how I perceive things. Like I speak my truth. And if I see a dude who looks good or this or that or the other, I'm like, yo, what cologne are you wearing? You smell really fucking good right now.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't. I don't. But I could say that to somebody. You know what I'm saying? But like that idea of being really, really, really good with who you are and what you are. Yeah. What's really fascinating is what I'm finding in building friendships and connections with other men is the less I try, like the more real these relationships become. Like I'm not trying to impress anybody. I don't give a fuck, right? We're sitting on my couch with dogs have been chewing it up and the whole thing, and people are like, oh, I thought Sean had all this money and he should have this fucking grand palace. Be like, yeah, I got a fucking tattered couch right now because my goddamn dog keeps scratching the shit out of it, right? Yeah. But like that idea and that notion that I'm supposed to be this certain way, or if I say this, it makes me less of a man, or if I say this, it makes me like quote unquote homo. It's like, nah, dude, like that entire idea is really at the root of this masculine conversation. Just being really fucking good with who you are and what you are, dude, and what you wear and what you say and what you build and how you build it. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, we all know Andy Frisella. Yeah. Last time I was there at HQ, this is a perfect example of it. He was sitting there getting his haircut. You know, he's got the little barber thing set up. And I was just sitting there talking to him, and he was like, you know, the mohawk looks really good on you, man. He's like, that's a great look for you. He's like, I could never pull it off, but dude, it looks great on you. Just saying stuff like that. Like a lot of guys wouldn't be comfortable saying that shit. Andy's very comfortable with who he is, right? And I was like, thanks a lot, man. I was like, you know, you look good too. And it's just like, why can't we say that shit? Mm-hmm. We can, you know?
Yeah, dude, and
it does look fucking good.
It looks fucking great, dude.
That's really like what I love about this conversation is stuff like that, man. It's really simple. We attach so many meanings and so many rules and so many labels to it, but it's really that simple as just being completely like cool with who you are. And again, this goes back to that having your past and having your history and feeling like you fucked up and all this other stuff, and being able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what, I'm a bad motherfucker.
Yep.
And like legitimately believing it. And if you don't, then saying it to yourself enough until you do, and being around people that think that way, and being around killers that aren't afraid, like Andy, who is not afraid to say that shit and talk about that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like that's a really, really, really powerful thing that's free. It doesn't cost anybody anything to be able to look themselves in the mirror and start creating mantras that build you up, that make you, you know, if you don't believe it now, at some point in time you will.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to make you one way, which I think is a very skewed view of it all, right? So you can sit here and say, I love you. You can sit here and say, you know, you look good. If you need to, you know, give violence a chance, stuff like that, if you need to do that, you'll fucking do that. Right. If people, you know, start questioning or giving you shit in conversation, social media, you'll fucking go right back at them. It's just because you're one, you don't have to be in one lane. And it's fucked up that people think that. Just because you say I love you doesn't mean you're a fucking pussy. People
say that to me all the time. They're like, how can you say God and fuck in the same sentence? I'm like, I don't know. I just did, though.
Can't I? Yeah.
I just did. You know what I mean? What does that mean, right? Well, dude, are you a Christian or you're not? I'm like, sure, I'm a Christian. Well, you shouldn't swear. Says who? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
You can't say it this way. You can't do it this way. It's like, well, it's exactly what I just said, and I'm totally kosher
and that's
with
who the fuck I am.
You know what I'm saying?
I say that, too, because when people see you, right, or see anybody, they see them one way. Well, you're supposed to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
Then, you know, use simple fucking clothes as an example. I usually wear jeans and cowboy boots.
Mm-hmm.
When I dress up in a suit, I like to wear fucking really nice suits or whatever. Coach, like, look, I like nice shit.
Yeah.
So, well, you're supposed to be a country boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why the fuck does that?
Bro, if I want to be a cowboy one day,
yeah,
and be rocking freaking Jordans one day, and be wearing Crocs one day, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I just
dude.
binge watch Yellowstone. I'm about to go to fucking buy some fucking cowboy hat. Like, what's the problem? You know, and there's too much outside judgment of that, and that's where it goes into that. And I think I wanted to ask you about your post and your response to your post the other day when someone asked you about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And your rundown on exactly what the fuck, what does that mean to you when people say that? And say
I should just read the post to you, but
it was well written.
It was just very well written.
And look, it's not about, I put in there like, yeah, I love boobs and bacon and America and guns, and that doesn't make you a man. It doesn't make you not a man, right?
Right.
Like the idea that masculinity is toxic, right? There's toxic people. There's assholes, period.
Like,
just because I don't want to hang out with somebody doesn't make me this or that or the other, right? Like, there are black people that are assholes. There's white people that are assholes. There are gay people that are assholes. There's straight people that are assholes. Straight up. Like, there's toxic people. But, like, the idea that being a man and talking about being a man and owning who the fuck you are is toxic is incorrect. And the only people that say that are people that, it's just like the dad conversation, right? Why does dad say, well, it's because I'm a dad? Because he doesn't fucking know.
Right.
Because he hasn't gone down the rabbit hole and asked the questions. And so who do you see, you know, labeling masculinity toxic? People that have some serious fucking issues with themselves and with masculinity, period. Right? And so, I mean, it's a total made up reality. It's total bullshit. It doesn't fucking exist. Masculinity is masculinity. An asshole's an asshole, period. End of story. But I just laugh when people, I get that every single day. I'm toxic and I'm toxic and I'm toxic masculinity. Why? Because I love sex? Because I love fucking my woman? Go ask her if that's toxic. I already know what she's going to say. What makes you toxic? Because I have guns?
Right.
Because I fucking love to hunt? I ain't toxic. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I think people are assholes. If I think, like, here's the deal. If I think you're an asshole, I'll tell you you're an asshole. Does that make me like, well, you know, men are better than women? Yeah, we for sure as fuck are at certain things. 100%. There are very few women on this planet that can lift as much weight as you can. Period. End of story.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? We are better at certain things. They are better at certain things. Women, right? That's a dope thing, man. That's a really, really, really cool thing. And again, people will try and skew all this that we're talking about. Well, that's not what it really means, and that's what's really cool about this conversation. Everybody has their own reality. Everybody's got their own definition of it, right? Go read the comments on there. There's 50 comments from people going, well, Sean, that's not what it really means. What it really means, and all of them are fucking different.
Yeah,
all of their definitions are fucking different. So I'm like, which one of you assholes is correct, right? That's what's cool about this conversation, is it's like, You can create whatever fucking term you want for somebody, but what does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, as a man, I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. I'm going to live how the fuck I want to live. If you think that's toxic, I don't give a shit. If you think it's cool, I don't give a shit. It's what I want to do. And I think what's really, really, really dope is a man planting his flag in the ground saying, this is who the fuck I am. And I really don't need you to like it. I don't give a shit if you like it, right? You can call me toxic. You can call me a Nazi. You can call me racist. You can call me an asshole. You can call me homophobic. Call me whatever the fuck you want. I really don't give a shit. That's on you. Yep. You know what I'm saying? But dude, toxic masculinity is complete bullshit. It's a term used by really, really weak-minded people that have not done any education, you know, into their own reality, into their own, you know, insecurities and fears and whatever. So it's cool.
Yeah. Fuck with that. I read through that whole fucking thing. I think I was sitting there with a couple guys at work. I was like, that's just the fact that there's toxic fucking people.
Yeah.
This conversation ends there.
Yeah, done and done.
And there's people who like to say, oh, there's also toxic femininity, and I'm like back to what you said. It's like it's not any of it. It's just toxic people, and you know, this circling back to the very beginning when I was like, what do we tell those young men? Like,
right.
You heard it here. Like, just live your fucking truth, and don't let people put you in a box and tell you that this is how a man should or shouldn't be, or you know, you shouldn't be competitive, and you know, a lot of this I think stems from, and I wanted to touch on this at least a little bit, the whole equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity. If you've listened to Jordan Peterson, I know he talks about this a lot, and like, I think it's rooted from this like striving for an equality of outcome, which is impossible because we're all fucking different. We're not going to have the same outcome no matter what, and so it's as a result of that. And this whole idea of a fucking patriarchy, you know, all this stuff, right? You have institutions trying to say some of those key things that tend to skew more towards men, like being a fucking competitive, ruthlessly competitive in so many ways, is bad because that doesn't allow for an equal outcome. That doesn't allow for just a participation trophy kind of mentality. And I think it comes from that, really. And it's not really like masculinity is toxic. They don't really believe that, right? Like what you just said. They don't really believe that because it's a moving goalpost. It's not, you can't even fucking put your thumb on what it is. It's truly just like, we need to all end up in the same place. And because some of you guys have traits that are competitive and you're going to kick other people's asses, we don't like that. Do you believe that? Is that? So I know that's a lot. But.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a couple things in there. Like I train, I should say train. I encourage my son. I lead my son in absolutely and Andy talks about this 100 to 0.
Yeah.
Like if I'm on the football field, if he's on the football field, his objective should be to absolutely destroy his opponent.
I agree.
Period.
Yeah.
If I'm in the ring with a dude, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not here to be equal. I want to fucking knock you out. I'm going to knock you out. I want to choke the life out of you till you don't move. Period. That is my sole objective. Now we can go have a beer after. We can smoke stogie and be BFS. But I want to fucking destroy you. Period. End of story. Like there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Again, is that toxic? Hell no. It's competition. It's what it is. Like the idea that we're all supposed to be equal. I mean, this is just in my opinion, it's such a rudimentary conversation. But where it gets really interesting is when you want to label masculinity toxic, right? Some people do. But then you want to allow men who are determined women to compete with other women. And then you say it's not fair. Well, which way do you want it?
Yeah.
Let's let the ladies kick the ladies' asses, and let's let the men kick the men's asses. Now, if you decide as a female that you want to come over and freaking challenge Conor McGregor or challenge you to a liftoff, God bless you. Dope. Go for it. I'm all for it. That is equal opportunity bullshit. Get after it. Let's go, girl. But the idea that a man is going to go roll with the ladies and dominate them, and somehow you're thinking that that's equal and that that's appropriate, I don't agree with it. I think it's absolutely stupid. But then you really negate the entire argument about toxic masculinity. That's period. End of story. Yeah. You completely negate the entire argument. So you got to kind of pick this deal. But again, I can try and impose my thought process on other people. Period. I could try and say this. Here's what I believe. I'm training my son to be a fucking killer on the football field. When my son gets on the mat to wrestle somebody, I want you to legitimately destroy him. I want you to break his mind. I want you to break his heart. I want you to break his spirit. I want you to pin his ass on the fucking mat. And then you can shake his hand, you can smile, and you can high five, and you can walk off. That's how I operate, right?
Yeah.
Now, something that's, I think, very, very important to understand here is if you look at a guy like Andy, right? Andy wants people to win.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I roll with, most of the dudes that I roll with make more money than me, right? Me making money doesn't mean that I want you to crash and burn. This idea and this mentality of, in order for someone to win, someone has to lose, I disagree with.
Yeah.
Now, don't get it fucking skewed. When we're playing sports and there is a first and a second and a third place, or a W or an L, someone's got to be in that category. But in life, like I want to help as many people win as humanly possible. But make no mistake, I want to fucking crush you. I want to be the top dog, right? I want to continue to earn, continue to live, continue to, build my freedom. But at the same time, I want you to fucking win. And I think what people have a really, really, really hard time with, especially people that maybe are not physically gifted or not strong or not in a space where they're competitive or whatever, like this idea that everybody, should be on this equal playing field. No. Want to know what happens when you get your ass beat? I got knocked out in a fight.
You get better.
I've had 5 MMA fights and I got knocked out, right? It pissed me the fuck off.
Yeah.
It pissed me off. I mean, there was a clear winner and loser. He won, I lost. He got the KO. I went home fucking not even knowing where the hell I was, right? Now, come my next fight, I trained my ass off significantly more than I did for that prior fight, and I absolutely destroyed my opponent. I shattered his nose in the first 10 seconds. There's blood everywhere, and I choked the living life out of him. Like this idea that because you lose, like a real winner takes a loss and comes back better.
Mm-hmm.
You look at a really, really, really good example of this, like him or hate him, I don't give a shit. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is he in his mind, he is the baddest man on the planet. In my mind right now, I would fuck both you dudes up. I'd fucking destroy you. What do you want to go at? I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
That's my mentality. Could you outlift me? Possibly. Could you clip me? Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, but you're not gonna.
But I'm not going to walk around going,
right.
"Oh man,
yeah.
I'm going to destroy you." Period.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, like you beating me, all right, okay, that means that I need to get better at
whatever it was that I just
same thing. You look at Conor McGregor. He
Yeah.
walks into every single fight with his head and his mind and his heart in a place that he is unbreakable. And when he loses, look at his post-fight conferences. And I really, again, take away whether you like or you hate the guy. He has a level of arrogance. He has a level of confidence. He has a level of poise that very few human beings have. In the business world, in the fight game, in any sport, he operates from a place where he is visualized and he is constantly about that growth and that leveling up. And when he loses, he wins. And this is something very, very, very few people understand. If you and I go lift weights and you beat me, I'm winning. Here's why. I now know what I need to do to get better.
Yeah.
And this is something I really, truly believe. Like when my son last year, they lost and they got, they were out of the tournament, right? The semifinals. He was bawling. He was crying. And I told him, I was like, feel it. You feel that sting? You feel how bad, like you're replaying every play, aren't you? Like you're thinking about the fact that you went 90% when really you could have gone 100%. I want you to feel that pain. I want you to feel that sting. And guess what happened? In the offseason, he went like a fucking bat out of hell, and he came back and they won the championship this year. He went from being an okay defensive lineman to being the starting linebacker, leading the team in freaking tackles and sacks. Because of that sting, because of that. That's dope. I want that for people. I want you to jump in with people that are better than you, stronger than you. I want to roll with dudes that have more money than me, that push me to think bigger, to go bigger, to risk more, to bet more on myself. I want to work out with dudes. I work out with my buddy Satema. They freaking won a Super Bowl at the New England Patriots. He's a giant freaking 290-pound Polynesian. He outlifts me every fucking time. But, dude, I walk in there talking so much shit, and I've gotten stronger because I work out with him. So, this kind of is all over the place with that, the women and the men and the whole thing. Like, you got to be able to freaking put yourself in a place where you might lose.
Yeah.
You might get beat in order to get better.
You got to challenge yourself to get better.
And that's the way that you get better. But, dude, at the end of the day, like, I don't even like having the conversation about the women and the men. Like, I don't even fucking care, dude. At the end of the day, if a dude wants to go pretend he's a freaking girl and go wrestle with chicks, whatever, right? If chicks want to allow them to do whatever, I don't really, that has nothing to do with me, nothing to do with my life. What I say doesn't matter because I'm over here kicking ass in my own world, in my own game. And at the end of the day, that's how I'm going to continue to do it. So what I'm going to continue to encourage my clients to do, continue to encourage my kids to do, own that world. Again, getting your own house in order, getting your own mind right, getting your own body right. And that's the game that I'm playing, that I'm encouraging people to play.
You said that before we even started recording. People were asking you about investments or something. You're like, well, you should get your own shit at home.
Right.
Your own house right first before you can worry about all this other shit.
Yeah.
Lock in yours, control the controllables, essentially.
Well,
100%.
That's really what you see with all these like social justice warriors, on social media and everything. I always picture this, they have all these opinions that are going to fix the world and create justice in the world and all this. And it's like, they're probably typing that from a dumpy apartment, maybe their parents' basement, whatever. It's like a prime example of like, they haven't taken the time to get their own house in order. They're trying to fix the world before they fix themselves. And Jordan talks about that all the time. Right. But I think, going back to that whole fucking issue of winning and losing and losing being good for you. Like, dude, it's such a disservice to kids to do this whole participation trophy thing and to encourage like an equal outcome no matter what. Like, that's not what has driven humanity forward, dude. That's not what creates innovation. That's not what creates prosperity.
It's a lie.
Anybody.
It's a lie.
Complete lie.
It's not part of the DNA. It's not part of culture. It's literally, people don't like to hear this, but since the dawn of creation, there's always been somebody at the top of the totem pole. There's always been somebody at the bottom of the totem pole. There's been a lot of people in the middle. And that will never change. That is human fucking nature. Yep. There will always be somebody stronger than me. There will always be somebody weaker than me. There's always going to be somebody with more money than me. There's always going to be somebody with less money than me. That's human nature. It's not, you can't change that. No matter, you can't legislate that. You can't govern that. You can't change that. And that's, I think, what's really, really critical right now about this masculinity conversation is let's acknowledge what the truth is. And the truth is that's never going to change. We have leagues and protests and people and all these people trying to change something that's not changeable. Well, Sean, we should adapt and we should grow and the whole thing. Well, what does that even mean?
Dude, it's such bullshit.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's fake.
And this is what I firmly believe in is like, I'm on a quest to be the best version of me. And if you don't like it, I really don't give a shit. And if you want to get in battle with me, then get in battle with me. And one of two things will happen. Either I'll win or you'll win. And if you beat me, then cool. I'm going to level the fuck up so that next time that doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
And if I win, great. I'm going to continue to level the fuck up so that I can continue to beat people. That's just the way it is, right?
It's denying our nature to not encourage.
Well, they're demonizing competition and for no fucking reason because it separates. And it shows who's better at certain things.
Yeah.
And for the people that want the handouts and everything to be the same, they view competition as the evil piece of that, which is fucking bullshit. But testosterone is also a real fucking thing, and science will prove that.
So, look, man, I don't care how fucking hard I try. I'm never going to be LeBron James. Like, I've accepted that fact, right? Mm-hmm. I know what I was born with, and I know what I'm capable of doing, and I'm going to try to do that the best as I fucking possibly can. And no matter who you are, you've been given gifts that you should try to push to their potential, and they're not the same as my gifts or Sean's gifts or Chris's gifts. And like, that's fucking okay. That's what makes the world amazing and beautiful, and it's diverse and vibrant and fucking awesome and drives our curiosity and all the cool fucking shit we just talked about. Like, to deprive us of that is like, that's the worst possible thing you could do, especially to a young person, man.
Yeah. Let me say something that you just said, like, to deprive us of that. The only way that you're deprived of that is if you allow
good point. Yeah.
someone to deprive you of that. This is something I'm
and this is what sets you apart.
I get in a lot of, I don't want to say trouble, but I get a lot of blowback from this 2A community and this, they're stripping in the freedom of speech, and I could say whatever the fuck I want. Yeah, but they can show you, but they, who's they?
Yep.
There isn't a fucking, if social media decides to kick me off, does that mean that I can't speak? Nope. I speak the same amount of fucking freedom with or without this platform, with or without this microphone, with or without this app. Like, the only way that you are losing your freedoms is if you allow them
to take them away.
Same thing. Guns. They're coming. They're coming for the guns. They're coming. Who, motherfucker? Who?
Yeah.
Because I keep going to the gun store and buying guns.
I still got
I got a fuck ton of ammo. Like I keep hearing from the 2A. The gun. I don't. You still have your guns? Has anybody come to your door? Yeah, but I read a thing. Shut the fuck up, man.
Yep.
You still got your guns. You still got your ammo. So again, this idea, this freedom concept, is really hard for people to grasp because. Freedom of speech is under attack. Oh, you can attack all you want, and you ain't beating me because I'm going to keep fucking talking.
Dude, our friend.
And you ain't going to take my guns, and that's just the way it is. And so, again, the house in order, right? This notion, this concept, when you say, like, this idea of people coming in and making, it only changes if you allow someone to change it. And me in my world, you ain't changing my freedom.
We're the parents. Like that's where we fucking step in.
Right.
You know, like if the school's trying to preach this, whatever, like that's our job to fix that. But we were talking about our friend Ian Smith, you know, before the podcast. Perfect example. A lot of fucking gyms just let the governor shut him down.
Right.
He didn't, you know, and that just shows you right there, like they couldn't take his freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
I still went down there to train.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
That's what everyone keeps asking me, like, why do you keep buying more guns and more ammo? I was just like, because I can.
Because I fucking
and
can.
I want them. And I just keep loading up like an armory, and I'm like, and Jersey's fucking brutal to buy a gun, too. It takes like 5 months.
It's brutal for everything.
It sucks. But people are like, why do you keep buying? How many fucking guns do you need? Well, I can buy them, so I'm going to continue to buy them because I like them.
How many spoons do you need?
Yeah.
How many plates you got in your cupboard? You don't need all those
shirts
plates.
Do you have?
How many pairs of underwear do you have?
Like,
it's all relative fucking conversation.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. I mean, I really, this is something that I know you two obviously vibe with, but like this idea that our freedoms are being stripped away and this and that and the other, like I literally got kicked out of an establishment this morning. I walked in, I go in there once a week, new managers in there, wouldn't let me in. And I had two choices. I can get pissed off, I can flip the fuck out, or I can be like, cool, they no longer have my business.
Is this
right?
Mask issue?
Mask issue, yeah. And, you know, again, this is the part of freedom that a lot of people get upset about, right? Like, you have the ability to not like me. You have the right to not like me. You have the right to think that I'm an asshole. You can say whatever the hell you want to say about me. I'm totally kosher with that. That's freedom.
Dude.
Freedom of speech. Like, that, you know what I'm saying? Like, this idea that we have to like everything that people say. No, I want people to be able to say whatever the hell they want. That is true freedom. If you want to call me a racist, a Nazi, a homo, go right ahead, man. You have the freedom to do that, and that is your right.
Yeah.
And I have the right to call you a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
I have the right to tell you I'm going to knock your teeth out, right? Like, I mean, it's just such a phenomenal time, in my opinion, because that tipping point, right? When you talk about, you know, the masculinity and you talk about, like, DNA and nature, like, the great equalizer's coming. It's going to come. I don't know what it is, but I truly believe that there will be an opportunity in a moment for all of the people that stacking the gun, okay, you might have your chance to freaking go see what the fuck you're really going to do about all that, right? And all the people that want this quote-unquote socialist reality of the government taking care of them and everybody's equal, cool. And there's not going to be any food, there ain't going to be any money, whatever, then let's figure out who's right and who's wrong here, who wins and who loses here. At the end of the day, the only thing I fucking care about is ensuring that my family, my posterity is good.
Yep.
And that's all that matters to me. And I really believe that every person listening to this right now, when you fucking get your own house right, you're talking about this, when you get your own shit right, you can't pour from an empty cup. If you don't know how to produce, protect, provide, you got yourself a problem. Mm-hmm. If you can't provide for yourself without relying on the government or this, that, or the other, you got yourself a problem. But now you know what the problem is, so you get to go remedy it, right? But this is how human nature's always been, man. It's been like this. Study history. You know, it doesn't matter what culture or what civilization. You want to talk about Rome, you want to talk about Greece, you want to talk about Genghis Khan, any of these thousands and thousands and thousands of years. This isn't new. This shit has happened for many, many, many times over many millennia, over many continents around this planet. And to me, it might sound like totally like deranged or whatever. I fucking love it. Like, I love what's happening right now. I love the contention. I love these conversations because it's opening us up to new reality.
Exactly.
It's opening shit up to a new reality. Yeah. Like, dudes want to talk tough, cool, then go put on your tough pants.
Yeah.
See what you got. You want to you want to rely on the government, then go fucking rely on the government. And one day that might not be there to help you out, and let's see what you got. Yeah. Like, let's, you know, me saying let's allow people out. I have no control over that. I'm going to do me. I'm going to get my house right. I'm going to freaking fill my coffers. I'm going to get as many guns, as many bullets as I can freaking get. And I'm going to do whatever I want to do as a free man. And you do that too.
Yeah, send some of those 5.56 out to Jersey because you can't get shit out
Dude,
there.
We got some in South Carolina.
I posted that video the other day, and everybody was like, "Where are you finding ammo?" I'm like, I didn't just buy this. I haven't bought ammo in 6 months. I've been doing what I've been telling people to do for years and years and years. You go to the gun store, you buy a couple boxes here, a couple boxes
That's what
there.
I've been doing.
You do that before you know it, you got a friggin' stockpile.
I'm from
of
New
ammo.
Hampshire, so every time I go home, I just go right into Maine and
Mhm.
load up, drive back. I'm going this Saturday, gonna load up, drive back.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a shit ton up there. There's not much going on, but I could go up there.
When you were talking about all of that, I kept picturing. Have you ever seen the meme of the elephant tied to a
the
plastic chair?
Yeah.
It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
When you talk about them taking your freedoms away, walking into a place with or without a mask, like they said I have to wear a mask. That's the plastic chair, right? Like, so you put it on.
I could sit there and yell and scream and be like, "Fuck you, I'm not wearing a mask." Or be like, "Cool, no problem.
Right.
That's your business. You won't get my money ever again."
Yeah.
And I could sit here and complain about that and bitch and moan about that, and I've done that. And it's a futile effort. It's a futile effort. So I just continue to build my life, do what I need to do, and you know, bitching and moaning about it and all this other stuff, it doesn't get me anywhere. So I might as well keep my mind right, keep my peace right, and just find a different place to get my money.
That was one of the most frustrating things about a lot of my friends on the right. You know, when not Bernie, thank God. When Biden won, oh, we're fucked, we're doomed, blah blah blah. I'm like, how much stock are you putting in the government to take care of your needs anyway, motherfucker? Like,
you're still gonna wake up and go to work tomorrow.
Yeah,
dude. It's the exact same thing you just said. It's like,
we're in a
really how much is your life going to change?
Yeah, we're in a really cool evolutionary state because people are like, I want to go back to normal. What the fuck was normal?
What was that, dude?
Paying 50% in taxes and all kinds of other bullshit. There was nothing quote unquote normal about that.
Gas has already gone up.
I say we just keep fucking moving along, and again, it top of the totem pole, bottom of the totem pole. Lots of people in the middle. Where are you going to be?
Yeah.
Like this is the hand that's dealt. They stole the election. They robbed. Okay, now what? What?
You still got to get up and produce.
Now what? I'm as pissed as I mean, on the day of the inauguration, I posted a picture by and said, "Good luck, man." Well, fuck! How could you even say that? He's not my president. And I'm like, bro, you literally spent the last 4 years mocking snowflakes for saying that's not my president, and you just fucking did the same thing. I'm like, bro, get the fuck out of town. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But dude, that's what's funny to me about it right now is it's like this is such a dude, we're sitting here talking on microphones in front of a camera, then this thing will be transmitted to the world. Think about that, bro. We have a fucking phone that trades stocks and buys food and communicates with loved ones and makes us money. Like, we live in the most amazing, ridiculously cool time ever in the history of this world.
Yeah, dude.
Like, I could wake up every morning mad at somebody, pissed at somebody, or be like, yo, like, I'm going to write my own chapter today. And it doesn't include any of that other stuff. And I'm finding the men and women who have gotten their own life right, who really focus on their own shit, stay in their own lane, they're winning.
Yep.
They're winning. And what that means to you, what winning looks like to you, I don't know. But I know that, like, in this time of chaos, whatever, I'm in more peace. I've got more money invested than I've ever had before in my entire life. My kids are happy. They're healthy. I spend more time with them. I have the ability to move and do what I need to do. And if it means I don't go shop at this store, but I got to shop at this store, then so be it, right?
Yeah,
but
we
live in such a dope period of time, man.
It's too good people look for things to complain about.
Yeah, they look for problems. When you don't have problems, you create problems. And, dude, I was going to say, that's why I love, like, this whole conversation here at the end. That's why I love your free man shirt, because really, it's like fucking right, fucking left, free man. You know, the guy who takes care of his own shit no matter what, no matter who's in charge. Like, that's who you want to be.
100%. That's the reason I made that shirt, because I had that reality and I had that thought, and it's just it's my life right now. It's freedom. Like, money's not gangster. Freedom's gangster.
Fuck yeah.
Like, money is not the game. Money is not the determining big swinging dick factor anymore. In my opinion, it's freedom. How free are you emotionally, psychologically, physically, financially? How free are you? You know, and people, you're not free, and this and that and the other, and the government. I'm part of this culture, just like we talked about at the beginning. I'm part of this collective just as much as anybody else. There's certain things that I have to kind of abide by, if you will, as a member of this culture. a member of this society, and I'm cool with it. And when I'm not cool with it, then I make changes. Then I adapt. But at the end of the day, like, you have two choices. You can bitch and moan and complain and find somebody else. And there's a lot of people on the quote right that are in this spot. We're all going to die, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to just shut the fuck up and get your own house in order. And what I would have you consider is it's not about the money. It's about freedom. Are you free to move? I am. I mean, I'm not going to, I won't downplay that at all. Within 30 minutes of this moment right now, I could disappear in the mountains and you'd never see me again. And I've got food, water, shelter. Good to go. I got protection. I got ammunition. I got everything, because I didn't just run out yesterday and go, oh, shit, guns are going to disappear. Yep. Like we did when they thought Clinton was going to win.
Same shit.
The same shit, right? If you get your fucking mind right and you focus on your own house and you get your own house in order, you stay in your lane, you'll always win. You'll always win. Well, what about the banks and the money? I don't give a fuck about the banks and the money. I'm in the same game as you are. Are you prepared? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, find somebody who is, copy what they're doing, take from the style, like learn, educate, continue to evolve.
That's what we're naming this episode. Get your own house in order.
Get your house in order.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Dude.
I want to say, I know that he's getting ready to wrap, just for coming out here and knowing we were coming for the trip and watching you from the outside in was, I was very interested, to get here. And because of the way you are on social media, it's very different than a lot of, people that run these big companies. It's refreshing from someone from my standpoint who tries to do the same thing and just be real and transparent. So coming out here was like, is that how he actually is? And you are the exact same person that you portray on social media. And in my opinion, not that it matters much, but that is why you have such a loyal following, because you're true to who you are and you connect to the masses of that standpoint.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Dude,
I don't portray anything on social media. I just am how I am.
It just exists. Same with fucking Andy. Same with, we went out and met Seth for OC.
Yeah.
There's a common thread there, dude. And so I know we've been jamming for a while. Tons of valuable insight, Sean. Thank you so much, man. Like, I know people are going to get a shitload of value out of this. I always wrap with the same question, even though we've already given a ton of valuable information. But, to young men out there today, if you could give them one piece of advice, and I have a feeling I might know what it might be, but, what would you say to them just in a short little blip?
A couple things. Number one, tell the truth. I promise you, like, you think that mom and dad will be pissed. Like, as a father, like, I've told my kids, and I'll stand by this, I don't care how bad you screw up. I don't care how bad you fuck up. Just tell me the truth. So long as you tell me the truth, we'll be able to work with that. And I strongly encourage the youth to understand that you will be criticized, you will be ridiculed, you will be made fun of, you will be mocked, you will be labeled for that truth. But so long as you never deviate from, like, what's inside your heart and your soul and what you believe to be right, you'll always win. You will always win. It might not look like it in the moment. You might face some serious criticism, some serious persecution. There might be your friends that mock you, to make fun of you. But so long as you stay true to, like, what you really fucking believe and you tell your truth, you will always win. And then the second part of this is to know that whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
I know it seems really lonely, and there's these hollow, holes of these digital spaces that just suck people down, and just know that, like, it's all right to be sad. Know it's all right to have dark thoughts. Know that you're absolutely fucking normal. I mean, if you look at me, if you look at my life, if you think I'm successful, I don't know what you think, but know that I have those exact same thoughts, and I battle those demons every single day, and it's real. And that's what makes you dope, is acknowledging what the truth is and living that truth. Don't hide it. Don't pretend that it doesn't exist. Speak that truth and know that there are other people out there that are badasses that you might be looking at saying, I want to ball like that guy. I want to have the car like this guy. I want to build a big business like this guy. And those people are dealing with their own shit. And those people are dealing with, things that you might not have yet experienced. But so long as you tell your truth and you stay true to what you are and what you believe, and you know that, like, you're normal wherever you are, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, like, that is cool, man. If you're down, it's all right. If you're up, it's all right. And then the final part of that is the last thing that I would say is to be charitable. There's something that's really powerful in giving to people, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. I'm not telling you to give your last dollar away, but be a fucking good human being, man.
Yeah.
There's kids in your school, and I don't care if you're in high school, elementary school, middle school. Shit, we might get some youngsters listening to this, whatever. If you're in college, like, pay it forward. Be a good human being, man. There's a lot of kids that that would love nothing more than you just to give them a high five when you're walking down the hallway.
Yes.
Those kids that are labeled a loser or a freak or a nerd or whatever. I was a fucking fat little turd in school. I got picked on and made fun of all the time. Walk down the hallways, and you want to know what's gangster? Not fucking following the masses and making fun of the nerds and making fun of the freaks, but give those freaks a high five. Just walk by them and just a high five. Just tell them what's up and just keep walking. That might literally be the thing that saves their life. That might be that one little thing that they need to keep going. And just like you, like having people comment on your mohawk, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like comment on people's positivity. Like be a good human being. You know, there's a lot of darkness in the world, and I strongly encourage everybody listening to this to shine your light, to shine that light and be real and be honest and be truthful.
Boom.
Fuck yeah.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank you, Sean.
time.
Appreciate it, brother.
Instagram at Sean Whalen, at Lions Not Sheep. You guys, he's everywhere. You can find him pretty easily. Dude, yeah, thank you so much. What an amazing
Thank you guys.
episode.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
And that's a wrap.